So hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to this edition of Soccer Hub Talks. My name is Ricardo Valveira. I'm the CEO and founder of Soccer Hub. Today we'll be having one of our Soccer Hub Talks. The subject will be college sports in the USA. As you know, and as usual, this is a live event, so you will be able to ask questions. You just have to introduce the questions on the chat box, and we will select some to ask to our speakers. Before we start, I would like to ask you to please introduce some information about yourselves on the chat box, such as the country that you are based in, and also some information about yourself, such as the job and what kind of work do you do in soccer. So as I said, today, college sports in the USA. We are here today with our partners from Athletes USA that will explain it in more detail. What do they do, as well as give many insights about college sports in USA. So we are here with Ben DEETS, University Search Director at Athletes USA, and also Herbert, BISTE partner and responsible for soccer development at Athletes USA. The panel will be moderated by Danielle DANTAS. Danielle is a soccer sports journalist here at Soccer Hub. So I will introduce all of the intervenients in a few seconds. Okay, perfect. So Ben, Herbert, thank you very much for being here with us today. And I will introduce and give the panel to Danielle. Danielle.
Hello, Ricardo. Thank you very much once again for the opportunity. It is a pleasure and an honor to be here to moderate this conversation. I would like to say hi to everybody that is watching. This is our first live from 2021, so I take the opportunity to wish everyone an amazing year. As Ricardo said, this is a live broadcast, so we will be able to ask questions to our speakers. Feel free to write those questions on the chat box, and I'll try to select some and ask the speakers. Today, we have with us Ben DEETS, University Search Director at Athletes USA, and Herbert BISTE, partner and responsible for soccer development at Athletes USA. Ben and Herbert, thank you for accepting our invitation. For those who may not know, Athletes USA is a sports scholarship organization that provides tailored and comprehensive college recruitment services for athletes seeking to secure an athletic scholarship in the North American college system. We know that many capable athletes, and not only in the US context, don't pursue higher education because they fear losing contact with their sport. But this choice does not always have to be mandatory because fortunately, a college sports scholarship can provide the optimal combination of sports and academics. Well, since we are three, the dynamics of this conversation will be different. So Ben can start answering my questions and Herbert can complement the answers or vice versa. This will be an informal talk, so do as you prefer and feel more comfortable. To start, first of all, how was Athletes USA born? How did you identify the need that motivated its creation?
Well, first of all, thanks for having us and Happy New Year to everyone. I'm a German native, and I think I'm going to start there because we do help a lot of international athletes to come to the United States and play college sports. We started about 10 years ago, actually born in the UK, then transformed, and now we are in West Palm Beach in Florida, our head office. But basically we're helping international athletes to get scholarships in the United States, and I've done it myself. I'm a soccer player. I did not make it to the pro level for several reasons. In the end, I wasn't good enough because it's very competitive, obviously. And there was just this missing, I had to decide between school or soccer. And soccer at that level, I could not make enough money. So yeah, I was kind of torn. I started actually university then in Germany, but it was really hard to combine because still we had to train a lot. We every weekend was traveling to games, and then during the week we had university, and that was because there was no real connection between the club and the school. It was really tough to combine. Then I looked into different solutions, came across college sports in the United States, and did it. I went to New York for 2 years, played NCAA Division I soccer, And then I transferred to a NCAA Division II school in Los Angeles. And yeah, kind of was, I would say, the best decision of my life, just because it opened so many doors. And for me personally, it was a big chance to grow as well, see different part of the world. And that's kind of what we're trying to also, explain to other players, yeah, if they cannot make it to pro level, and there is no better opportunity than going to the States and combine studies with sports. And Ben can introduce his story as well. It's slightly different.
So thank you, Daniel, and Happy New Year to everyone as well. I am an American, and I played golf. And for me, when I was a kid, golf was my outlet. It was my everything. And to go to college without it wasn't something that I even considered. So fortunately, here in the United States, a combination of your sport and your academics is possible. So I played college golf and soon fell in love with the concept of coaching it. And even before I was finished with my 4-year degree, I had talked to my college coach about being an assistant when I was done. I was soon hired afterwards, and I kind of got into recruiting, admissions, learning every aspect of the college search process through this. And when I'm an identical twin, but when my brother and I moved down to West Palm Beach, Florida, I found Athletes USA, and Herbert and I actually started with the company, I think, within one day of one another, but that was about 4 or 5 years ago. Company started long before us with the concept of having scouts around the world, helping identify talent, helping bring the idea of college sports and combining academics and athletics together, mostly in soccer, golf, and tennis, but we do work in all 27 NCAA recognized sports and all the club and NAIA sports available as well. But anyhow, the concept was to have scouts around the world, a main hub here where we can conduct university searches and connect with the American sports coaches, and then have an admin team that helps oversee that. And that's kind of the roles that Herbert and I play with the company.
What kind of personalized services do you provide at Athletes USA?
So I think that's actually the main difference, that we're trying to keep it personal, because we believe every athlete is obviously unique, and the story is unique, and there is so many different schools available. You need to find the right fit, not just like some school. You need to actually find the right school. That's why it's really important to work one-on-one. We do have a scout team, as Ben mentioned, who's working with, usually, if we have a German scout working with German athletes and so on. Then we have people in America, like for example Ben, who's connecting with the American coaches. So this personalized service, just make sure you find a good school, and throughout the process, there's so many things to consider: academic paperwork, NCAA, NAIA registration, all these different kind of things. I believe, or we believe, you just get the best results if you get personalized service, and we help throughout the way. But there is no real we do this, and that's it, because every athlete, some needs more, some needs less support, and we're trying to just get the job done.
And on the other end of it, some universities need all these services in a different order at a different time. So, we try to create a personalized plan for each and every athlete that meets their academic and athletic goals.
Can you explain us in a detailed way how do scholarships work in the United States in general, and how you connect athletes with sports scholarships at universities also in the US? What is the usual procedure?
Absolutely. So there are various scholarships in the United States. It's not limited to academic and athletic scholarships, but those are what we mostly speak about. There are all kinds of merit scholarships as well, leadership scholarships, et cetera, et cetera. Many of those come into play after the first year. But initially, the way most coaches and universities start is a coach will see an athlete they have interest in, and they'll try to identify what their academic merit is. So they'll look for an estimate grade point average, or GPA. This is what we refer to in America as what your grades are in your country converted to our American education system. So they look for that, and they look for your test scores. That can be the SAT or ACT test, or the TOEFL, i.e. LCS, or any English equivalency test. And they use these numbers to put the GPA and test score on kind of a matrix or a graph to calculate potential academic scholarships. Then usually coaches use that information to then stack or add athletic scholarships. So they identify if a student is admissible into their university. If so, what type of academic scholarship may be possible? And then they use that piece of information to calculate what they can do to add to a possible total scholarship package with an athletic scholarship package. Now, that is a generalized way of doing it. Not everybody works like that. Sometimes the athlete takes complete precedent and they're just going to throw a big athletic scholarship out without really looking too much at the other numbers. And sometimes it works the other way. They need to have them fully admitted before they can even talk about adding athletic scholarship to a package.
And in terms of soccer, just like be more soccer specific, because I think this talk is about soccer people. Usually coaches, because they cannot see everyone obviously around the world, they identify talent based on video. So highlight video is actually really important. We help with that in the first place, just to make sure to create this kind of narrative about the player. If it's a good forward, a good right back, good center mid, something like that, just to explain what are the benefits. College soccer in America is different to, let's say, again, I'm talking from a European perspective, from a European perspective. It's way more physical, it's faster, but it's less technical, tactical approach. So you need to, represent a player that makes sense for the American college coaches. So this is the first step. And then we do have a platform with all the profiles online. So coaches visit the platform to identify talent. We also reach out to coaches to explain them, hey, this player might be a good fit for your team. And there's so many criteria that come into it. For example, budget also, because I think that's the next topic we're going to talk about. College is really expensive if you don't get a full ride scholarship. And not everyone gets a full ride scholarship. But like these kind of things, we need to know from the families in order to find a good fit.
Your platform includes athletes who practice a wide range of sports, from soccer to wrestling. How can an athlete register on your platform?
We have athletesusa.org, which is our main website, and they can generally get started there. There's a brief questionnaire where they can identify themselves, tell us a little bit about their sport, a little bit about their academics, and then someone from our team will reach out to them to organize an evaluation call where we identify potential academic, athletic, and budget necessities for colleges and universities. We try to provide a free evaluation so that all potential clients have an understanding of what might be possible and how much it may cost here in the United States. We also have people searching for athletes, talking to clubs, high schools, sports schools around Europe and across the world to further identify and reach out to student athletes.
And how many athletes do you have registered on your platform?
I lost you there for a second, Daniel. I'm sorry. What was the question?
I was asking, how many athletes do you have registered on your platform? It's more of a year-to-year thing. Within any given year, we have 200 to 500 athletes. Overall, across the 10 years, I think it's 3,000 plus now. Well, that's incredible. I have another question. These sports scholarships usually cover which amount and what type of cost? So we're generally talking the fees that you're going to have to pay to the university. So that ranges from tuition, room, board, or rent and food. And then additional fees like your books, your insurances, any student ID, payment fees, et cetera, et cetera. So when a scholarship is applied, it's usually going to the balance that's strictly paid to the school, generally in a percentage or a stipend amount. This project certainly has several successful cases of athletes who ended up being recruited. Can you reveal to us some?
Yeah, I mean, one of my And that's actually also a cool thing, because one of our athletes who came to the States became national champion with the University of Maryland. I'm talking against soccer right now, as a team captain also. And that's just a great story. And now, since we visited them, he's a German, so we met in Germany as well. Like, I think we can call each other friends. So we kind of developed this relationship. That's great. It's actually a very good benefit to have, to help people to take that step and then see them being so successful. I think that's on NCAA Division I soccer the biggest success story we have so far. And obviously after that, going into the draft, for example, for the MLS, is also a big achievement. It is tough from college, the next step to MLS. Not gonna lie about that, especially for international athletes, because there is some limited roster spots in the MLS, but it's possible.
We also have a golfer that recently won a national championship at the NCAA Division I level with Stanford University. We've had numerous success stories in all leagues. Generally, we have representation in a soccer championship at the NCAA Division II, NAIA, and junior college level at any given time as well. But the great thing about the job is not necessarily the great sports success end. It's about matching the specific wants and needs of each and every student athlete with what they're looking for. So sometimes the greatest success story might not be a big name brand school that everybody around the world might know. But another one on the more sports specific end is we had a rugby player that with the beginning of the MLR League, the Major League Rugby League here in the United States, found a spot on the team, came over from the UK.
Okay. We have now a question from Amadou. Amadou is a professional coach, UEFA Pro, from Catalonia, Spain, and he's asking, he would like to know the possibility for the coaches, which are the possibilities for the coaches from abroad.
I think we're talking about college coaching positions then. I mean, in general, it's not gonna, it's pretty hard. First of all, because of the visa situation, a lot of international coaches, they actually started to play in college, and then they work their way up, basically doing a graduate assistant position, which means you also get a scholarship for your coaching activities while being still studying at the school. And that's where most of the coaches, or most of the international athletes who want to become a coach start. After that, after graduation in the United States, you do have the work visa for 1 year. A lot of coaches also use that to get experience. There's also some exchange programs available, for example, J1, that you might use. You do need to have a position though first in the United States. And I'm answering from a visa standpoint first, because it's the most important thing to figure out. I believe obviously Spain has a very high coaching education level. So they are needed and wanted in the United States, but it's really tough to figure out the visa situation around that. Part of this, or let's say, if someone has the ability to be here, there's actually a good amount of people needed. Academy level, college level, also pro level. Academy level is really interesting also financially, because there is a pay-to-play model here. A lot of families pay to be in a club, so and these clubs are looking for good coaches, and so these kind of things are definitely possible once the visa situation is figured out.
And that work year is referred to as the OPT. So many student athletes utilize this work year, whether they want to be a coach or work in any other field where they can gain experience in the United States before they go back to their home countries. So it's an opportunity to improve the resume while still gaining that American experience they're looking for.
Yeah, what we usually recommend to someone who does not have any connections, do volunteer work. Try to find a connection in the United States that takes you on. If you have understanding of soccer, and again, if you're from Spain or any from these high-level considered countries, you make tons of connections right away, because there is definitely a need for good coaching over here. Trust me.
Athletes USA has a multidisciplinary and highly multicultural team. Just out of curiosity, how are your work dynamics as a team?
Yeah, that's a good question. And actually, that's the biggest benefit that we have because, like Ben, for example, talks to American coaches like friends. I, as a German, talk to American coaches more on the professional. So it helps when Ben takes that over. On the other hand, if Ben tries to call as a German, it's gonna be tough because Germans, for example, they don't speak fluent English. You know, it just makes sense to help each other out. And every person in our group has different strengths and weaknesses. So we just try to focus on the strength to bring them on together and cut out the weaknesses. But I love it because the connections I made through these people are amazing.
Yeah, with the worldwide team, we're leaning a lot on video links like this one to communicate, but that communication aspect is so important when we're working in so many different time zones and working with so many different clients. And, you know, it's a very big decision for a student athlete to move to the United States so far from away from home. So, you know, prompt and good communication are some of our core values here at Athletes USA. You get different holidays everywhere. You know, the Three Kings holiday was yesterday in Spain and most of the world. So you just be mindful of things like that. And it's quite fun to kind of compare what life's like around the world.
Well, before we finish, would you like to say a few words for those who are watching us and are potentially interested in applying? Where can they find you?
So they can find us online, again, athletesusa.org. It's probably the best way to start it out. We are, you know, every client who applies, we're talking to them before we give them a free assessment just to make sure like we're on the same page, because we don't take anyone on who just have unrealistic expectations. That's how it is, especially during the pandemic. There's also some changes in the recruiting process that we need to communicate and need to make people aware of. So these kind of things, or let's say that's the best place to start, just to get in touch with us. Instagram, website, whatever the case may be. And the advice I have based on my own experience, I was kind of stuck back in the days because I could not make it to the next level. And if anyone feels that way, and I mean, there's no harm to it, just to get more information about what could be possible. And for me, it worked out well. That's why I'm always would do it again. And if I wouldn't have tried it, I wouldn't have done it. So that's my only advice.
Sorry,
Ben,
my dog.
would you like to say a few words?
I would. My dogs are barking in the background, so I'm going to try my best here. But, you know, like Herbert said, we're findable at athletesusa.org. And preparation is key. So, you know, when we're talking about finding universities in the USA, we evaluate and prepare you accordingly in a timely fashion to maximize your opportunities. And, you know, we work with student athletes around the world at all ages. So it's never too early, but it can be too late. But even if it's a little late, we'll evaluate your potential options in terms of your eligibility and what's possible to give you an idea of what could be here in the United States. Thank you.
Thank you very much, guys. It was a pleasure to be with you today. We will certainly be in touch. Good luck with your project, which is already the #1 sports scholarship agency. Thank you to everyone who watched today's edition of Soccer Hub Talks. I hope you all enjoyed this conversation. See you later and stay safe.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you very much. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.